Hi, everyone. I'm Lisa D'Amico, the curator at the Art Gallery at the Rockefeller State Park Preserve. And I have the pleasure today of speaking with artist Barry Levin, whose work is in our current exhibit. So, Barry, welcome. Thank you so much.
Hi, Lisa. Uh, I'm a wildlife and animal artist and a member of the Society of Animal Artists. All my life, I've been to animals. I've raised, kept, trained, and bred all kinds of animals. I've always also had a camera, and I've always also been into art. A while back, it all came together, and I created a style that I'm calling hyper-realistic. Um, I identify patterns in the subjects and I build those patterns from dark to light typically. And I build in layers of increasing detail and lots of very subtle detail also. I like people to be rewarded for spending time looking at the painting so that the longer they look, the more they see. And some parts of the detailing are so obscure, so um, subtle that they register emotionally, but not even registering visually. Um, I work from a library that I've created of over 1.5 million wildlife photos, which I use for reference, but I go way beyond the photos. Um, I make them more realistic than the photos. I add detail. I'll typically use multiple photos. I'll enhance, I'll simplify, I'll, you know, add missing parts and so on to produce something that goes way beyond what I've started with. Um,
Let me ask you a question. So,
yes,
there are two pieces in the exhibit that I have a strong affection for, and those are the sesame and cappuccino. You were able to focus in on a very small area of the animal, the eye, and those two paintings for me, just within that one eye, tells a story. Can you tell me something about those
sure.
things and
This
how
is
you
actually, although I painted them a while back, this is the first time they've been exhibited. Sesame and Cappuccino are dwarf donkeys, um, and they live in Connecticut. And they're still around. I see them every once in a while when I drive by them. I was fascinated by the eyes. I loved the reflection of the light. I loved the shadows. I loved the hair detail, the way the hair contours to the shape of the face. Also in the eye, you'll see reflections of the elements around them. You'll see you'll see my reflection in one of them. You'll see a reflection of the other donkey in one of the paintings. And so I didn't want to do the whole donkey. I wanted to do a piece of the donkey um, and let people see what I saw in those eyes.
They are spectacular, those two pieces. And
Thank you.
they are really unusual and unique. And your fine detail, especially of the hairs and the eyelashes, it's remarkable.
Well, I enjoy doing that. I pay very careful attention to anatomy and and I like to add detail upon detail. You'll notice that in the eye, you actually see the shadows of the eyelashes. So that was what I was going for in that particular pair of paintings.
Beautiful.
I also did for this show a pair of trumpeter swans. Now, what most people see around here are mute swans, which are an introduced species. But the trumpeter swan is the original large white swan. It's the world's largest swan species. It is the largest waterfowl in North America. And at one point, they were almost wiped out due to overhunting for the not for the fur trade, for the feathers for making hats, and they're slowly coming back. Um, so they were a great subject, and as always, when I do a bird on water, the detail of the water is important to me, and it wraps around the edges of the canvas also. I consider that series of water paintings as a box of water.
Is your painting the common loons, which is also in our exhibit, is that part of that series?
Yes, I consider any of them as with the water as part of that series. Common loons en passant means in passing in French. And these loons were in a lake in Maine. And they are found around here. They nest in lakes, and they're a very interesting bird. They're big and heavy and experts at diving. They can dive 250 feet deep. What they're not good at is walking. They literally cannot walk. So they make their nest on the shore of of a body of water, and they drag themselves up into the nest. Um, I was very fascinated by the detail of the water and the reflections in the water, and I enjoyed doing that painting. I have seen them around here,
Hmm.
uh, off, on the coastal wetlands. They do often come around.
In this painting and in a few of your other paintings, I noticed a technique and I wanted to ask you about it. In some areas, especially the beak and the eyes, you're giving it a higher gloss to it. Now, is that a resin or is that a varnish?
I call that my varnish effect. What I do with those details is, and please, if you try this, be very careful. You practice on something you can ruin because you will make mistakes and you will ruin paintings until you get very familiar with it. I build up many, many, many layers of multiple varnishes, and I position the canvas in a way that gravity creates the shapes I want. You'll also find that the um, the varnish will tend to jump from one area to another. And to avoid that, you often have to paint adjacent areas separately and let it dry. So while the actual technique um, is somewhat time consuming, it takes multiple weeks for all those layers to dry one at a time.
The effect is beautiful and it
Thank you.
enhances your work. It really gives it another dimension of interest.
I like doing that. I consider it like a low relief sculpture.
I can see that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
some of my other paintings that are not in the show, I have some snakes where each scale is built up in that manner. But that's another story.
Now, before we go, is there anything else you'd like to share?
Um, well, I suggest for people if they want to know more about me or more about my work, or even see step by step how I do my paintings, check out my website at www.animalsbybarry.com. If you click on anything on the home page, it'll show you a gallery of that category. If you click on a painting, it'll show you a description. And if you go to the evolution page, I show you step by step how I've done several of my paintings.
Barry, thank you so much.
I thank you for allowing me to be part of the show, and I thank all the viewers for listening to me and seeing my work, and hope everybody here has a wonderful day.